Hey y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and Shermichael Singleton is trying to speak truth to power to all of these deranged Democrats on CNN, but I think the TDS has gone too deep, particularly when it comes to defending the swamp itself. Let's dive in.
Elon Musk is not a popular guy. I mean, that's the bottom line here. If he is leading this effort, I think it's going to go it's not going to go as far as it would if Congress was leading the effort. And this, I think, is the big question. Can Republicans in Congress actually get their act together? They have such a thin majority. If they can, and they're the ones who are in charge of cutting the spending, that would be a much better situation for Republicans going into the midterms.
Can I just jump in on something you said? Because I've been a political consultant for a very long time, and I can tell you, yes, polling shows that people want government cut until you start talking to them specifically about what it is that government should be cutting. And then you start talking about taking away my Medicaid or taking away my Medicare or taking away my Social Security or doing things which we all know is the biggest expenditure in Congress and the biggest expenditure in the government. And all of a sudden, they don't like it, right? Because it's fine until it comes for them.
Sure.
But right now it's coming for them.
But who's cutting Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security?
We're
not taking that away from anybody.
There is a proposal
we're not,
from Republicans
but we're not taking
How
that away from anyone.
how could you have
Democrats
voted for the
keep
blueprint?
using this talking point
It's
as a scare tactic. Elon Musk, the president, the House Majority Leader, the Senate Leader, we have not cut anyone's Social
How are
Security,
you
Medicaid,
cutting?
or
Excuse me.
Medicare.
How are you cutting $880 billion from the Energy and Commerce Appropriation Committee from the Energy and Commerce Committee unless you cut Medicaid?
Do you think those things are solvent?
Excuse me? Do you think?
Simple question.
Answer my question.
It's a simple financial question.
Do I think
Do we not need any level of reforms?
I'm sorry.
There whatsoever?
Let me ask you a question. You're saying we're not cutting Medicaid.
We're not.
We're not.
Where's the legislation that's been passed by Congress, signed by the president, where there are cuts?
What is this budget bluept that every single Republican
It's an idea.
voted for?
Everybody has an idea. Julie, that doesn't mean the idea has been actualized.
It's not an idea. It is a blueprint that they said,
go
ahead.
Tactic, Julie. It's
not a
scare
scare tactic.
That's what you're doing right now. It's a scare tactic.
Shermichael.
Oh, we're making cuts.
Shermichael.
Where have the cuts?
Why
have the cuts occurred?
Why did Congress bother wasting everybody's time voting for a blueprint that said cut $880 billion, from Energy and Commerce? The only way to achieve that is to cut Medicaid. How are they going to do that?
Unicorns exist. Where have we made the cuts? It's a simple question. Where have we made the cuts? Where and when?
Where and when?
No, where and when have we made the cuts?
You put a blueprint forward to allow Congress to do that. Then why did you waste time doing it? Why?
Okay, where have you made the cuts? You've made the cuts, for example, to USAID, which is
we
affecting farmers. It's been done arbitrarily. It is affecting farmers. It is affecting U.S. contractors who had penned contracts with USAID. You are cutting funds by firing thousands and thousands and thousands of government workers, some of them veterans, who we as a country have promised to take care of, and sending them a pink slip through an email and giving them absolutely no recourse. That's where we're cutting funds.
Anna,
I think it's you don't think it's
let me ask you this question, Anna. When Clinton in the 90s cut and fired hundreds of thousands
I'm in
of federal
2025, Shermichael.
He didn't do it arbitrarily.
The point that I'm making, though, I mean, even last night, let's just think about this for a minute. The president highlighted DJ, the young kid who's dealing with cancer survivor. They didn't even have enough decency to stand and applaud. He highlighted the mother whose daughter was killed by an illegal immigrant. They didn't stand and applaud. He talked about law enforcement, not the bad guys, but the ones who are doing good work every day across this country, keeping our cities safe. They didn't stand and applaud. It appears to me that the Democratic Party, in my personal opinion, is a party that is in chaos right now.
They
have no idea which direction
Shermichael, with all due respect, you think Democrats are going to...
Oh, absolutely.
Wait, let me say this. You think Democrats should applaud Donald Trump when he talks about law enforcement?
No, but a kid with cancer.
Stop. Let me just, no, excuse me. In that very chamber where Donald Trump's goons tried to harm the people that were sitting there and applauding Donald Trump, you want Democrats to take advice from Donald Trump about law enforcement?
It's not about taking advice, Julie. Some things should just simply be above politics.
Right.
And those are three instances where Democrats could have simply applauded.
I'm sorry.
You don't have to like the president to say these are good things.
This president is cutting funding for childhood cancer. You want to know what he's cutting funding for? The NIH, the CDC. He's got a wacko as the head of HHS. And you want to talk about it. I'm sorry. I'm very happy for that kid. I'm very happy for that kid. I'm glad that his lifelong dream came true and he became, a cop or whatever he wanted to become. But the bottom line is that all it does is accentuate the horrors that Donald Trump is imposing on kids with cancer.
Democrats seemed pathetic and they seemed petulant in their behavior last night. And if they think that's going to help them go into midterms next year, I say keep going.
Good grief. The ability to go from no, we really shouldn't stand and applaud for a kid who's been made an honorary Secret Service member. We shouldn't stand and applaud for the woman whose daughter was murdered by an illegal migrant that could have been detained at any point along the way by Democrat politicians. Again, her name is Laken Riley. So yeah, I'm going to take whatever advice and I'm going to throw it in the garbage whenever I hear this woman talk again. Okay? I think that's what any person with any modicum of an intelligence quotient should do here. Her entire logic base is Donald Trump is bad, therefore anything that he says is bad, even if he says the sky is blue or gold is a precious metal. You'd think that someone would be able to go, yes, I can agree with that. But no, the amount of Trump derangement syndrome, and at the beginning of this video, Elon derangement syndrome, has gotten to the point where if he's not part of your tribe, you can't give him any credit. Folks, there's a reason why the GOP has been so big a fan of Tulsi Gabbard for so long. There's a reason why we've gotten to really like RFK Jr. There's even a reason that we've gotten to a point where we'd accept John Fetterman. And John Fetterman does not believe in Republican ideals, but he is at least smart enough to know that, hey, it's okay to stand up and clap for things that are good. Okay? Honoring a kid who beat brain cancer and was bullied by his own community, getting recognized by the President of the United States because he had heart, gumption, and determination, and you refuse to stand for it? That's just pathetic. Just for lack of a better word, that's just a really pathetic mindset to have, and that's what so many Democrats have fallen into. And so, when they're clutching their pearls and talking about, oh, well, the cuts to the federal government really aren't a good thing, give me an absolute break. And furthermore, the whole idea that, oh, you happen to fire some veterans? I'm sorry, when Bernie Sanders was on the Veterans Administration Committee as a senator, and I got to watch as that entire department got worse and worse and worse during my brief time in the medical field, I have to wonder if Democrats have any soul at all when it comes to the major issues. Oh yes, you can talk about things are getting cut in small places here and there that might hurt someone down the road. Well, let's be honest here. We've been kicking the can down the road when it comes to our interest payments, and now it's the number 2 federal expenditure. Funny how Little Miss Redhead didn't talk about this at all. Man, I have no idea how this woman ever got paid for her opinions. I think little orphan Annie would be better at giving political advice than she is. Good grief. So ultimately, Democrats have been kicking the can down the road on the spending, and you know what? So have Republicans. George W. Bush wanted to be a continuation of Bill Clinton and fell flat on his face. And he did give us the Bush tax cuts, and yay, that helped for a little while. But then after Barack Obama got in office, and then the spending really ramped up, we're now put in a position where Social Security, interest payments, and Medicare take up more than 75% of every dollar. 75 cents on the dollar, and it's probably higher now, go to those 3 expenditures. Yeah, I think we're going to have to find some ways to cut some things here and there, because if we don't, we're going to be in such a debt crisis that eventually no one's going to borrow from the federal government. Then what then, Democrats? What then is going to happen when your precious pet projects aren't funded? But you know what? We could forgive a lot of that if you just had the guts to show some basic gumption and stand up for good things. And remember me bringing up John Fetterman here? Well, what he said in this tweet, a sad cavalcade of self-owns and unhinged petulance. It only makes Trump look more presidential and restrained. We're becoming a metaphorical car alarm that nobody pays attention to, and it may not be the winning message. That's what Fetterman posted on X. And then in a tweet by Katie Britt, actually not a tweet or actual words, I was so disappointed that my Democrat colleagues couldn't stand and show love for so many of the Americans that were recognized tonight. That was really heartbreaking to me. Britt said that it was a huge misstep by so many of my colleagues to not honor Americans with heartbreaking and challenging stories. You'd think that the Democrats would be smart enough to stand up for these basic moments, to honor other people in the chamber that deserved what they were receiving, the recognition from the President of the United States. But they can't and they won't. That is how bad the Trump derangement syndrome has gotten. So not only have they lost the ability to admit that, hey, we need to cut parts of the federal government and some of the consequences, well, I'm sorry. I actually am. But I'm more sorry that we got to this point to begin with. And then when it comes to, basic decorum, the Democrats don't have that either. At some point, they're going to realize that they don't have a leg to stand on. And with the midterms coming up in 2026, you're going to have to start wondering just how viable is the Democrat Party going forward. Because if they keep this up, they're going to be a minority party for a long, long time. Not that I would have any complaints about that ever happening. It couldn't have happened to a worse group of politicians. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on Politibrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Until then, y'all have a good one.